All right, so we're going to take a look at factoring by split middle term. This helps us when the leading coefficient is not 1, so when a is not 1. And remember when I reference a, b, and c, it's always off this structure, ax squared plus bx plus c. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find a number pair that multiplies to a times c. All right, so this 12 is the a times c. All right, and it adds to b. So multiplies to ac, adds to b. In this case, that's 3 and 4. All right, because 3 plus 4 is 7, 3 times 4 is 12. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to drop those numbers in, because what we want to do now is we want to split the middle term using those two. So I'm going to do the 4x there and the 3x there. If I add those two together, I get 7x, all right, which matches what we originally started with. Because again, we just want to change the way it's structured and looked. We don't want to change the value of it. All right, so I'll go ahead and carry those numbers down here. So I've got the 4 and the 3. All right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use factor by grouping, which should sound familiar from back in the Algebra 1 days. We're going to cut this down the middle. All right, and we're going to take the common factor out of the first two terms, which in this case is a 2 and an x. All right, and again, we can always check that by distributing, because 2x times x is 2x squared, checks with the first term. 2x times 2 is 4x, checks with the second term. All right, in the second half of this, I can factor 3 out, and that leaves me with an x plus 2. Now, at this point, we're going to factor the x plus 2 out of both of these big terms. All right, so when I talk about this, the big terms that I'm talking about is this whole first piece is 1, and this second piece is the other. All right, and I'm factoring out the common factor, which is that x plus 2. So the x plus 2 comes out front, all right, and then I'm left with the 2x in the first spot and the plus 3 in the second spot. And that's our factorization. All right, and that's split middle term is the technique. Now, some people will teach this one with guess and check. If you feel really comfortable with guess and check method, feel free to continue with that. I tend to use split middle term when the leading coefficient isn't 1. Now, down here at the bottom, I've got two other examples for you, so you can take a look at two more worked out examples. What I'd like to do is I'd like us to run through a couple of these exercises together right now. All right, so first thing I'm going to do on this one is AC is 4 times negative 6, which is negative 24. All right, then I need to find factors of AC that add up to 5. So an 8 and a negative 3 would work. So I've got 4x squared plus, splitting the middle term, 8x minus 3x minus 6. Cut down the middle, I can take a 4x out of the first half. That leaves me with an x plus 2. I can take a negative 3 out of the second half. That leaves me with an x plus 2. Then I have 4x minus 3 as one factor, and an x plus 2 is the other factor. All right, and that's our split middle term. All right, jumping to the next one. All right, I've got AC is 6 times 10, which is 60. I need to multiply to 60 and add to 19. So I've got a 4 and a 15, because 4 plus 15 is 19, and 4 times 15 is 60. So now I'm going to split the middle term, so I've got 6x squared plus 4x plus 15x plus 10. Cut it down the middle, I can take a 2x out. I'm left with 3x plus 2. And I can take a 5 out of the second set, which leaves me with a 3x plus 2. All right, that leaves me with one factor of 3x plus 2. And when I take that out of both terms, I'm left with the second factor of 2x plus 5. All right, taking a look at the next one. The numbers start to get kind of big on this one. So first thing I'm going to do is look and see if there's any common factors. Unfortunately, there's not. All right, so this is probably when we're going to have to go grab a calculator. All right, so first thing I'm going to need to do is 8 times 35. So if I go in to a calculator, I've got 8 times 35. That gives me a 280. So AC equals 280. Now, I always look for the obvious factors here, and what jumps out at me is I've got 28 and 10. So I'm going to check that first. All right, it's a negative 35, so I need a plus and a minus. So if I make the 28 positive and the 10 negative, that's going to add to 18, so I'm in a good place there. So now I'm going to split the middle term, 8x squared plus 28x minus 10x minus 35. Cut it in half. I can take a 4x out of the first group. That leaves me with a 2x plus 7. I can take a negative 5 out of the second group, which leaves me with a 2x plus 7. All right, factor the 2x plus 7 out of both terms, and I'm left with a 4x in the first half and a negative 5 in the second half, and I've got my factorization. All right, looking at the last one here, AC is going to be 8 times 9, which is 72. All right, so multiplies to 72, adds to 18. So 1 and 72 is not going to work. We've got 2 and 36. That's not going to work. We'll check a 3 there. 3 goes in there. 3 into 72 is 21. All right, and 3 and 21 we might think works, but that would only be if it's a negative there. All right. And I misdivided there. It's not 21. Let's see, 3 goes into 72 24 times. All right. And that doesn't work, so then we go to 4. So 4 is going to go into 72 18 times. All right, 4 and 18 still don't work. So then we're going to 5 doesn't. So 6 does go in there. 6 goes into 72, let's see, 12 times. All right, and 6 plus 12 is 18, so that's our number pair. And again, see, sometimes we just have to go brute force and keep trying these. So now I'm going to split the middle term. So I've got 8x squared minus 6x minus 12x plus 9. Cut it down the middle. First half, I can take a 2x out. I'm left with 4x minus 3. Second half, I can take a negative 3 out. I'm left with 4x minus 3. All right, bring the 4x minus 3 out to the very front. I'm left with a 2x and a minus 3. And I've got my factorization. All right, so that takes us through a few examples of split middle term. Hope that helps. Again, we'll take some questions in class tomorrow if you're stuck with anything. All right, I'll be back with difference of two squares in a second.